All right, shalom and welcome to the Brothers Fellowship. My name is Prisak and I am the host for today. And I have my brother Kish with me. Shalom.
Shalom.
And we have various brothers in the room. And we're going to deal with something on our fellowship class today. This class is entitled The Jewish Attack Machine, the Black Attack. It is what has come about now is the privileged are presenting themselves as if they are the ones being attacked. But there is a systematic, a real machine that is set up that seems to go against our people. Now, and it's just not our people, it's pretty much anybody who comes against this power structure. And if you say anything, a lot of these labels have been pushed upon us that if you announce who does something against you and that person just happens to be of a certain religious group, then now you're anti this because you have stated that this individual has done something to you. So what I want to do is I want to go into some well publicized articles that we had absolutely nothing to do with. I want, to go through some of these things back to back so that we can show this picture here. And just coincidentally, I'm flipping through the channels and ended up watching a few of Dave Chappelle's interviews. And he was talking about all of the troubles that he had ended up facing. And even in his Saturday Night Live skit, he said, if you mention something that it was the Jews, your career is over. And so much, in fact, that he has to carefully say, yeah, it was a lot of Jews in Hollywood, but that don't mean they run the place. Okay, so it's so much control that you have to say or not, put out there who it is you're talking about if they ever want to work again. I want to just read, because one of the issues that he had was with Comedy Central, and I think that was one of the Viacom companies, but I want to read something here. There's one called National Amusements, which is owned by the Redstone family. And it says the company operates more than 1,500 movie screens across Northeastern United States, the United Kingdom, Latin America, under its Showcase Cinemas, Showcase Cinema Deluxe, Multiplex Cinemas, and Cinema Deluxe. When you get into the enormous amount of companies that are owned by this family, who happens to be Jewish, then you already have a serious control part. And it says it is the parent company of Viacom and CBS. So you're talking about a huge lineup of companies that are owned right by these few individuals, not even to get into the other things. Go ahead.
What's the name of the company,
the group National Amusement, and they own all these other things.
I noticed you mentioned Red something in there.
Redstone family.
Redstone family.
Uh-huh.
What did Kyrie highlight all them companies and call them? He said everything in red, right?
Uh-huh.
Is what they control. And he said it's called, we just call them the red media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would you say it's called a
Redstone family?
So he was hinting to something there.
Yes.
Okay.
They own, just right here, 150 movie theaters. All right. When you deal with Viacom, understand that means we're talking Paramount, we're talking first of all, BET. So a Jewish family owns BET. So so when somebody says that the media is being controlled by these individuals, How does that become an anti-Semitic trope? I can look at the internet and find out who owns it. How am I troping? What the hell is a trope? How is that when I can look and see who owns the company? So if I own my house and somebody says, stop owning that house. Oh man, that's anti-Semitic, bro. You can't just come out here and just say I own my house. But bro, it's your house. How does that become an issue? And you have to wonder, why would anybody own something and not want you to know they own it when everybody knows they own it? Unless you're trying to have plausible deniability for the other things that are going to take place. So that's something that you have to wonder. And Chappelle was mentioning all of this stuff that he had to do because of his contracts. And he mentioned some very interesting things. He said he had agents, he had lawyers, and they said, Dave, this is a good deal. He said, all right, well, my people, and these supposed to be people that work for him, they said it's a good deal. Then he says, you know what? What I didn't consider is maybe they all know each other. They're in line putting together this little network here. So, and it never does occur to you that when you get a lawyer, the lawyer who's working for you may also be in cahoots with the lawyer on the other side. And then they make secret agreements with one another and tell you, yeah, you should probably just go ahead and settle. But they have made a secret agreement with one another. He then begins to figure this out. So he threw it out like a question, but no doubt he found out later on they must have known each other. And they told him this is a good contract. It wasn't a good contract. Because he eventually said he had to go away from his agent. His agent told him, yeah, there's nothing else you can do. And then there's something else that he said that I'm going to get into. And just the fact that he said, if you say anything about this certain group of people, your career is over. That automatically tells you how much power is there. But I want to read something to you in Matthew 6 and verse 3. It says, and in the morning it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and loud. Oh, you hypocrites. You can discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. And we are in a situation where the signs of the times is definitely showing that we are heading toward the time of Jacob's trouble. Okay? Because when you have exceptionally wealthy people telling you how they are being persecuted, meanwhile, we're dying on the street. Meanwhile, we have all of these things coming against us. They are uncovering police tapes where they're saying, let's start the purge against Black people. This is the kind of stuff that's happening to us while the business owners are telling us that they are suffering. So I want to start off. Let's go into Matthew chapter 24. And we're going to read verses 3 through 14. And this is the only scripture that we're going to read today. The rest of these things that we're going to go into are going to be articles.
Matthew chapter 24 and verse 3.
Yeah.
As he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came on to him privately, saying, tell us, when shall these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And Yahshua answered and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you, for many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because lawlessness shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold.
The love of many shall wax cold. Go ahead.
But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this is the God, and this gospel, pardon me, of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come.
All right, and I on the search under Google for the Redstone, the National Amusements. Redstone and her family are the majority owners of CBS, Comedy Central, BET, Showtime Networks, Nickelodeon, MTV, and the film studio Paramount Pictures. That is all Jewish controlled. So when somebody says, and this is just one group, all right? So now I want to go into something to show. So we're going to go into first this article about John Travolta here. And this is, and I would like to highlight, this is coming from the Times of Israel. So if there's any anti-Semitic issues, make sure you take it up with the Times of Israel. All right, because that's the publication that put this out. This says, look who's talking now. Travolta allegedly claims Hollywood is ran by gay Jewish men. Okay, so this says John Travolta allegedly said he performed sexual favors for the homosexual Jewish men who control Hollywood, according to testimony provided in a lawsuit against him on May 4th. A masseuse sued Travolta in the U.S. District Court in Los Angeles for sexual assault, sexual battery, and intentional infliction of emotional distress, and demanded $2 million in damages. Among the sordid details of the incident is the masseuse's claim that Travolta told him that he got to where he is now due to the sexual favors he had performed when he was in his Welcome Back Carter days. This was a young man, the young sex symbol man who was pushed to perform these things. So he said, now, I'm going to go back to something that I mentioned coming in where Dave Chappelle said, because I suffered, I didn't go through the things that many of my colleagues did. Then he said, I don't know what penis tastes like. He said point blank, his other colleagues have had to perform favors to get, he is absolutely a genius in how he lines his stuff in. And if you're not listening, you're so busy laughing that you didn't catch the jewel that he put in there. So here is a man basically saying, now this is a white man, saying the exact same thing that I just heard Dave Chappelle say. He said this is how he got here, by performing these favors. Now, if you watch, there was another interview where Dave said, look, do you really think that something is wrong with all these people? That you hear these stars and all of these things keep happening to them? Maybe you should consider that there's something wrong with Hollywood. Okay, that was a statement that he made. So now we're in the first article, and a man, a Caucasian, has claimed not only that somebody, because this is how we tell the story, because black folk, we too proud to say it happened to us. Yeah, we had heard like a dude, see what's your name, them said that somebody had touched him. I mean, nobody touched me per se. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to, no, don't put me in, I mean them. No, this man saying him. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I don't know if you got this in there, but you can think back to even Richard Pryor way back then.
Oh yeah.
Was talking about the things with him and Paul Mooney doing, and the director or whoever it was, and these type of things.
It was one of his jokes.
Right.
He cracked a joke about him having to do some sexual things to keep his career going, and everybody laughed. It wasn't a joke.
And if you look at Paul Mooney's face, who was sitting right next to him, you could tell it wasn't a joke.
Right.
But Mooney was like, and what did you just say that?
Ain't that something? But see, we have gotten so accustomed to certain things, that hey, we'll throw that off and just say, because we look up to celebrities, we look up to rich people, and we think that that's okay. He says, and that Hollywood is controlled by homosexual Jewish men who expect favors in return for sexual activity. Travolta denied the veracity of the masseuse's claims. He said he was on the East Coast at the time and questioned that the lawsuit is a complete fiction and fabrication. All right, so he says that part that he didn't do this situation, but they got this information from their little deposition here. So I want to go to another article here. All right, so let's go to the Terry Crews article. So it says Terry Crews settled a lawsuit with the Hollywood agent he says groped him. Okay, now if you don't know who Terry Crews is, this is the big muscle bound brother who always make his pecs move when he in the movies. He ex-football player. We're talking about a muscle bound dude. I mean, even his head looked like it's a big muscle. I mean, this is a muscle, you know what I'm saying? This ain't no little dude, okay? So I want to read this article here. It says, Terry Crews has settled a lawsuit with Adam Vinit, the Hollywood talent agent, the actor accused of groping him at an industry event. Now, you got to think about how bold you have to be. This is at a Hollywood event, and we're going to get down into some other stuff here. William Morris Endeavor confirmed in a statement Thursday that a deal had been reached and the lawsuit, which Crews launched against Vinit and the agency last December for assault, battery, and sexual harassment, would be dismissed. So a lot of these things start coming out as the Harvey Weinstein thing came out. So Harvey Weinstein had been getting away with sexual assault against all of these Hollywood actresses. And we're talking about Gentiles. He's accused of assaulting, all right? And he has so much power. These people have Oscars and still have to deal with this man. So this is the kind of power that is wielded here. So after this has come out, and by the way, Weinstein, of course, is Jewish as well. So when people say that you are creating some kind of anti-Semitic trope, I want you to count the number of issues and count the number of or draw the line from what those people claim to be, and you do that line. Because when you consider that these individuals own the media, then we are always portrayed as criminals in the media. So then as we talk about, hey, the Gentiles are portraying us this way. Now we have to ask the question, is that really the Gentiles straight up? Because we look at who owns the media, is that coming from another group of Gentiles? Not just Gentiles, but this specific group of Gentiles. All right, so it says, on Thursday, the 50-year-old actor took to Twitter with a one-word message after the news broke: accountability. Crews alleged Vinit groped my privates at a Hollywood event hosted by Adam Sandler in February 2016. In case you may not know, Adam Sandler is also Jewish. So, and by the way, Adam Vinit is Jewish. Okay, so you have a Jewish man at another Jewish man's party, walks up and grabs the genitals of a man's man. Makes you think about that whole buck breaking thing where they take the biggest brother and humiliate him in front of everybody. So he walks up in the middle of this gathering and grabs his genitals. And what makes him believe that he has so much power that he can do this? Okay, it says he groped my privates. The Brooklyn Nine-Nine star has been a vocal supporter of the Me Too movement after going public with his own personal story of sexual harassment. According to the lawsuit obtained by USA Today, make sure, when people are watching this, and I want to make sure that you do see our, fair use here. These things are coming from other people's articles. These are not articles that we have put together. These are things that you can search and find if you know what you're looking for. All right. Vinit stared at Cruz intently, like a rabid dog, sticking his tongue in and out of his mouth provocatively during his first encounter with Cruz. Now, most of the time, these individuals are married with children while they're also assaulting, because so was Weinstein. Weinstein was married while he's assaulting all these other women, and he's using the Hollywood power to keep himself from being prosecuted. The alleged assault happened next. Vinit, upon his first meeting Cruz, viciously grabbed Cruz's penis and testicles so hard that it caused Cruz immediate pain. In the complaint, Cruz asked for punitive and exemplary damages after he said he suffered actual pain, as well as psychological issues from the incident. Vinit denies the allegations in court documents. Now, this part I particularly like. Claiming his actions toward Cruz were not sexual and caused no harm.
Not that I didn't do it.
I'm waiting for somebody. I've been waiting on it.
Not that
I didn't do it. It wasn't sexual. I don't know how you grab somebody's private member. And then it's not sexual.
Earlier you said what made him so bold. Is it bold or what makes him so comfortable? Is it that he was bold or he's just comfortable doing these things?
Hey, he was definitely comfortable doing those things. Boldness comes from a series of being able to, right. So you have to ask yourself, what makes him that bold? He's that bold because he has been able to get away with these things. All right. So then you have this bold action. It says not only it wasn't sexual, so I just grab stuff. All right, that's what I do. I'm a stuff grabber. All right, and it didn't cause him no harm. I mean, he wasn't bleeding in that. So it didn't cause him any harm. All right. The settlement comes a little more than a week after Cruz suggested his criminal case against Vinit was thrown out. Listen, due to the talent agent's close ties with the Los Angeles Police Department. So now, when I say the Jewish attack machine, you have to understand the multifaceted level that's happening here. So you have this situation where they own all of these things. Then they use their financial power to donate to organizations so that those organizations will not prosecute them. And hey, you have slime balls of all color. All right. Y'all remember when Creflo slimed right out of a ticket down there in East Point. And I think what he did, instead of paying the ticket, he gave him like 10,000 or 100,000 or it was something. So basically it was, how dare you give me a ticket for speed? Do you know who I am? You don't charge me. And see, what happens is, if paying the 10,000 or the 100,000 or whatever Creflo did, if you erase the ticket, there's nothing on his record. This is the game that the attack machine is able to have against us. That's why, it is entitled the Jewish attack machine, the Black Attack, because they are giving money to these organizations, they avoid prosecution.
Let's get one quick.
Go ahead, bro.
Before we move on. With this whole Terry Crews situation, now you understand the importance. Brothers, we always talk about sisters dressing in culture. So things ain't showing and poking. Importance of brothers being dressed in culture.
Because I guarantee he had his shirt tucked in. You know what I'm saying? So he was probably happy to display his big black stuff, but he didn't know that a small white man was going to grab that big black stuff. See, now if your shirt was covering your loins, he had to imagine your big black stuff. He didn't get to see your print. But see, this is also something else you said. You know, when you putting your pants on and you showing yourself, and sisters are looking, you know, there's men looking too.
Yeah.
They,
yeah.
You know, and it's something that we don't consider until we get assaulted. Now, this person doesn't, you know, Terry Crews doesn't have any culture. He doesn't understand how we operate as a people, you know, but as far as culture, your loins are supposed to be covered. So having your shirt tucked in your pants is something that is not something that we were ever supposed to do. But being that we must be a part of corporate America, we have been sold into looking the part, looking neat. So then we tuck our shirts in our pants. This basically shows your private area to everybody who has eyes. And apparently it drove this Jewish man crazy.
But then you got to think of what you said earlier. He always doing them skits, bouncing his chest.
Yeah.
So, hey, what you were talking about is what was said to me in high school. Brother working out, running around with the tight shirts. My teachers look at me and say, I know why you working out, and I see you should. But just keep in mind that I know you're trying to get the girls' attention, but you might get some other attention too. I'm sitting there like, what the? So that was told to me as a teenager. It's like, what the
Right,
man?
right.
Get the hell on.
Now, I want to look at what Terry Crews posted. This looks like I think it was Twitter. He said Adam Bennett has been the event chairman of the LAPD Foundation, which raises millions for the LAPD. See the letter below, and he put the thing in there, the letter, and it says, "Any wonder why my assault against him was thrown out by the DA?"
Wow.
Okay, so and now these are Hollywood people. This is actual stuff that has been put out. Okay, so when you see why this Jewish man was not brought up on charges, he settled. But you have to also ask yourself now, how much more work will Terry Crews get after? See, and this is why people are not talking. Okay. All right, it says prosecutors declined to file criminal charges in Cruz' sexual assault case against Benit earlier this year. His complaint was tossed by the LA City District Attorney, who deemed the allegations did not meet felony filing standards. And the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office, who said the statute of limitations expired. So they have every reason to do this, you know, but how many, it didn't fit. Groping. Now, what's all of this stuff they said Deshaun Watson did? He has all these cases for so-called touching women or asking them to touch him, right? How are all of those cases, and they were drugged through the media, you know, yet a man does this to another man in a crowded party. It's not worthy of criminal charges. So we start to then understand what's happening. So then we have to start then drawing the connection. Adam Benit was a talent agent for this Hollywood company. So if you say something, this is why he didn't say something. He said he really wanted to beat this man, but he says everything is going to go against me. They're going to label me the angry black guy. I'm the one that's going to go to jail. See, that's where our emotions automatically kick in. But he had to think deeper than, if I do this now, if I beat this man at this party, not only is my career over, my freedom is gone, because nobody's going to listen to my side of the story. The only reason they listen to Terry Crews is because he waited. Now, I know your automatic thing, and I heard a brother mumbling over there on the side, how to beat me. I guarantee you. Now, That might have been your original thought. Hey, it was his. Understand, this is an ex-football player. He definitely thought about hurting this man, and he said he understood the consequences if he did it. The only reason he was able to get some justice, some form of justice, is because he waited until Weinstein came out. Now, Weinstein is doing this to Hollywood actresses, and he has been able to get away with it. They have a recording of Weinstein begging the woman to just sit there while he washes in the shower. He said, look, you ain't got to do nothing. Just stand, just sit right here and watch me while I take a shower. That is a Hollywood producer. You know what I'm saying? So, she's like, I don't feel comfortable. I just want to go. No, don't go. Please don't go. No. And I mean, it's clear on the video. He has been doing this forever and ever and ever. So when this comes out, then you get the situation where, okay, it was a situation whereby, yes, he could come out now. He could go and tell his story. He had to wait for the right opening for him to be able to tell his story. And it wasn't an easy thing to take Weinstein back. It wasn't an easy thing. Go ahead, brother. You got something?
Yeah. When it comes to waiting, Brandon Fraser, the guy who started those movies and stuff like that. Yeah, apparently he went to an event and an executive or somebody, I think with the Associated Press, groped him, put his hands in between his derriere, pushed the man off and called him out in front of everybody. He got blackballed. They did an interview with him in 2018 and they asked if he was going to the Golden Globes. He said he wasn't doing it. He said it would make him a hypocrite if he participated. Yeah, so he ain't wait for the right opportunity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's that thing where you react out of emotion and then they blame you for your reaction. But I mean, you think about what we watch on a football game. You watch a player hit a player, right? Now, we're all looking at it on TV. But who gets the flag? The one who reacted. Because he gets pushed or hit, and then he goes to hit back, boom, there go the flag. And then the other guy's laughing. This is what's happening to us. This is what the attack machine is doing to us. They attack us. When we retaliate, we get the flag. The problem is our flag means that we go to prison. Our flag means that we lose all our financial income.
When you think about this whole thing, and I'd like you to do the accent. Why did Sammy make the move that he made?
So boing, man. Hey, nobody's going to be poking me in my. Hey, Sammy knew.
Right.
Who they don't bother in this industry are Jewish people. So Sammy changes to be Jewish. Check that out. He's Jew.
That makes sense.
By birth, but he changes to Jewish. So they can't be doing all these things to me. So I can hold up my Jew card. And they got to put their hands off me. Because who you don't hear in this issue, in any of these claims, you don't hear the Jewish being assaulted. You hear the Jewish being the assaulter. Dustin Hoffman was also accused of sexual assault. He is also Jewish. You have all of these things, yet we got R. Kelly doing about 30 years. And you have families who were involved in this. Even Lil Boosie said, hey, if R. Kelly go to jail, and the parents should have went to jail because it was parents that co-signed on all that stuff that R. Kelly was doing. So while he doing 30 years and all these people, they're able to throw some money at the problem and not get criminal prosecution. So then we see that there is a machine that is against us. And if we mention something about this machine, then we must be anti-Semitic. So, this one right here. Let's see, brother. I want you to read this one for me. This is, we're gonna go to the Michael Jackson article, because I think it was a brother that read this, that mentioned this to me, and I had to go look for it. Start reading that right there for me, please.
From the Jerusalem Post.
I'm sorry. So we've read from the what was the other one? Israel Times or something like that. All right, so 2 articles from Israel Times and this one from Jerusalem Post. If you have any anti-Semitic comments or beliefs in here, please send them to Israel Times twice and the Jerusalem Post. All right, so make sure you send it there, because that's where these articles come from. Go ahead.
Pop star Michael Jackson was caught on tape making anti-Semitic remarks, calling Jews leeches. In a series of audio tapes broadcast Wednesday on ABC's Good Morning America, Jackson is heard using anti-Semitic language in a voice message to one of his former advisors. They sucker, they are leeches. Jackson is heard saying.
Now, this was not a authorized recording. All right. So they're secretly recording him. Well, go ahead.
It's a conspiracy. The Jews do it on purpose.
Wait a minute. Now, this is Michael Jackson. We're talking about the biggest pop star in the world that the world has ever seen. Now, what did they do? Let me tell you how we are having issues. This attack machine that goes against us can say something, just accusations. Remember now, they passed a series of laws called 3 strikes and you're out. A lot of our people are doing 30, 40, 50 years in prison because they have had multiple allegations. And they say, hey, 3 strikes, you out. Look at how many people are saying this. When this many people are saying it, and this is what they use against us in court. They say if this many people is saying this about you, then it must be true. Well, how is it that that's not true on the other side? How is it that all these people can be saying the same thing, but it can't possibly be true? It's an anti-Semitic trope. This is Mr. Pop here. And we're talking, come on, we still claim Mike, but Mike ain't been black in a long time. All right? Come on now, let's be honest. Look at that picture. All right, look at the picture of Michael Jackson right there. Come on, man. Come on. Now, if there's anybody who looks more Jewish, it's him. And he's claiming that they are doing this thing to him. Look at what he looks like. Go ahead.
The tapes are part of a lawsuit filed against Jackson by 2 of his former advisors. According to ABC report, Jackson, who was restricted by his business managers in the amounts of cash he was allowed to spend.
Stop. You see that? You go into business with individuals. Now, what was Dave Chappelle saying? He said he went into business with them, and he says they ended up owning his likeness in perpetuity and forever throughout the universe, that he can't even do his own show. He had to appeal to the public to stop watching the show so he could get his rights back. Here it is. The king of pop has financial advisors who somehow now control his money. So you go into business with some individuals only to figure out you're not in business with them. You now work for them. That's how good they are with the paperwork. So then take the flip side of what Dave Chappelle was saying. All the people in the room told me it was a good contract. I did not consider that maybe they all knew each other. Go ahead.
Used to act as advisors for cash loans that sometimes reach millions of dollars. When he did not receive the money, Jackson became abusive and would leave harsh messages.
Okay, stop. When he did not, wouldn't you? If somebody told you that you couldn't get your money, you wasn't on that moon walking on the stage with me. I made this money. How you gonna tell me if I want to buy a Ferris wheel, then give me my money and let me buy a Ferris wheel? But you see how now you have So he's making this statement about this group of people based on what they're doing with his money. How is it that you're supposed to be my financial advisors? You have led me into signing, obviously, some papers, and now you have more control over my money than I do. But what lawyer told him that it was a good idea? See, here you go with the machine. You go get a lawyer, but then that lawyer works for the lawyer who's sitting on the other side. Go ahead.
The message was sent to Dieter Wisner, a former advisor who is now suing the pop star for $64 million. A separate lawsuit was filed by Mark Stapel, who claims Jackson owes him $3 million. ABC News has said that while the authenticity of the voicemail recordings left by Jackson to Stapel could be confirmed, they could not verify the recording on Wisner's answering machine. The Anti-Defamation League issued a statement claiming Jackson has an anti-Semitic streak.
Anti-Semitic streak. So they take his money. He turned around and he says that there are Jewish people taking my money. He says they are leeches. Now, he's being anti-Semitic. Never mind that they're taking his money. You see how the attack machine works? I take something from you. You speak out, you are labeled as the aggressor. This is how a machine works. Go ahead.
Abraham Foxman, National Director of the ADL, said every time he has a problem in his life, he blames the Jews. Foxman referred to a similar incident with Jackson in 1995 when he wrote a song titled "They Don't Care About Us."
Now, I've recently heard about the things in this song. Keep going.
That included anti-Semitic stereotypes.
Now, what pushed him to say this? He's a pop star. He ain't no rapper. Go ahead.
Jackson later apologized for the lyrics and removed them from the song. It is said that Jackson is infected with classically stereotypical ideas of Jews.
Now, you see what happens. Stereotypical views of Jews. This is what happens when you say definitively who has oppressed you. Now you get the title. This is how a machine works. You don't get to mention who did the wrong to you. This is why certain people said, I can't come out and say. I remember, who was it? It was the little kid who played in the Goonies or whatever. And he said, like, one of the kids committed suicide. And he said, I could come out and say who sexually assaulted me in Hollywood, but I would be the one who getting sued. Because somewhere in that paperwork, they got an NDA. And you understand something, that Hollywood parties are marked with NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, at the door. So when you come to the party, you have to sign paperwork. You are not going to mention any of this, or you will be held financially responsible for the words that proceed out of your mouth. Go ahead.
It is said that Jackson is infected with classically stereotypical ideas of Jews as all-powerful.
All powerful. Now, in the beginning, we read how much one family. Oh, understand now, all of that ownership, that was one family. Then you have Vineet, totally different company that he's running. Then you have Weinstein, totally different company. All right, go ahead.
Money grabbing and manipulative, said Foxman.
Money grabbing and manipulative. Go ahead.
He called on Michael Jackson to acknowledge the hatred in his words and show his fans that he rejected bigotry. Uri Geller, Israeli entertainer and close friend of Michael Jackson, responding to the alleged statement, said, "If what he said is indeed true, I'm through with him," but added, "I intend to call him and confront him on the matter." Jackson's lawyer was quoted on ABC as unwilling to comment on the content of the audio tapes, since his acquittal On child molestation charges, Jackson has been living in Bahrain.
Now that's deep, because it's one of those things where we face so many issues that people end up having to go somewhere else to even have some form of peace. I want to go, one thing it says about the money grabbing. I want to go to that. Pull up that Jerusalem Post article about the business innovation. I think you had that up earlier. Because I want to go into that. It says how many millionaires live in Tel Aviv. So when we do this, once again, Jerusalem Post. I specifically picked these articles. Saying I'm very intentional. Because I don't want anybody to say that we are doing all of these articles are not of us. Okay. So when you're dealing with the machine, you have to deal with something that they say is credible. So this says a new Henley Global Citizens Report reveals that 42,400 millionaires and 12 billionaires live in Tel Aviv, the second most of all Middle East cities. That's one city. But how now, this is something that other people can say. Netanyahu said that per capita, it's the richest place in the world under Hong Kong. And he said it's going to be number 2. It's going to be number 1 in a minute. Now, he can brag about that. If you say it, it's an anti-Semitic trope. How is that? And how does mentioning someone's financial power get to be some kind of statement? This is something that you're supposed to be proud of. How does it become a problem for me to mention, hey, man, they get money? It says of these, 2,260 have a fortune of more than $10 million. 118 residents have a fortune more than $100 million, and there are 12 billionaires. The Israeli city placed second in the list of 5 richest cities in the Middle East, according to the number of millionaires who live there, after Dubai. Check that out. After Dubai, that's how rich this city is. But if you say that, then that's why I have to read this. Because see, if I say it, I ain't being anti-Semitic. But if I read from the Jerusalem Post, now you got to figure out what you're gonna call me. Now you're gonna have to figure out what you're gonna call me now, because you're gonna have to call Jerusalem Post the same thing. Because it's their article. So in doing that, I want to go to this just to show the lopsided thing of what happens here. Let's go to the Clippers. This is another, the Times of Israel. All right.
So if you say that they own everything,
that's anti-Semitic trope.
So it is said that African Americans are the biggest consumers in this country, right? So can we claim anti-African Americanism?
Hey. But here's the problem. You claim it, ain't nobody gonna stop doing business. You can say it all you want. You know what I'm saying? But when they say anti-Semitic, your bank account decreases. All right. Now, this is the Times of Israel article. I need you to pay attention to the top left. Okay. I need you to understand where these articles come from. All right. So that if there's a problem that you believe is being projected, I'm going to need you to project that to Jerusalem Post and the Times of Israel multiple times. All right. So this says the Clippers owner, and I want to say this because this is where the whole thing, they're upset that anybody Black could even think that they are a Jew. After the whole Kyrie Irving situation. The Times of Israel article says Black Jews treated like dogs in Israel. All right. So this is the former LA Clippers owner, Donald Sterling. All right. So can you get that? Go ahead and read that for me.
An extended recording of racist remarks allegedly made by the owner of the Los Angeles Clippers was published Sunday by the website Deadspin, showing Donald Sterling making additional inflammatory remarks that were not in the original recording released Saturday. It's the world. You go to Israel, the blacks are just treated like dogs.
Stop. This is I'm sorry, and if I need to tell you that Donald Sterling is also Jewish. And this is a Jewish man telling you that blacks are treated like dogs in Israel. No, he's not talking about the blacks. He said black Jews. Now, I think they edited that a little bit because he says they are Jews and then they are black Jews. This was what the recording said. And he said the black Jews.
We get into that.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
But then you look how he said it's the world. So in his mind, this is how we treat them around the world.
Exactly.
It's the world. You go to Israel, the blacks are just treated like dogs. Sterling allegedly says on the extended recording, the white Jews, there's white Jews and black Jews. Do you understand? His girlfriend,
they know he married, right? But this girlfriend, I think that made the recording. Go ahead.
known only as V. Steviano, asked him, and are the black Jews less than the white Jews? 100%, 50, 100%.
They are 100% less than white Jews. So this is a billionaire sports owner. Okay? Go ahead.
The man in the recording, said to be Sterling, says, it isn't a question. We don't evaluate what's right and wrong. We live in a society, we live in a culture, we have to live within that culture.
We just live within the culture. The culture says this is what we do to black people. All right? This is the machine. Go ahead.
The scandal exploded Saturday when gossip website TMZ posted an audio recording. It said, shows the billionaire Clippers owner telling his girlfriend to refrain from bringing black guests to see his team play. Sterling, who is Jewish, was reportedly angry about it.
Now, wait a minute. This is the Times of Israel article, and they said he's Jewish, right? Okay.
And this is coming from TMZ, which is also
Jewish. Yeah, the host is definitely and he's a producer of the show. He's Jewish. Okay.
Sterling, who is Jewish, was reportedly angry about a photograph that Steviano posted on the social media site Instagram with retired Los Angeles Lakers basketball legend Magic Johnson. It bothers me a lot that you want to broadcast that you are associating with black people. Do you have to? Sterling allegedly says in the nearly 10-minute original recording. You can sleep with black people.
You can sleep with them.
You can bring them
in.
Understand?
That's just his girlfriend. That's not his wife. So you know what I'm saying. We won't play. You can play with them, but don't be seen in public. Go ahead.
You can sleep with black people. You can bring them in. You can do whatever you want. The little I ask is not to promote it on that and not to bring them to my games. Later in the audio, the woman identifies herself as black and Mexican. In your lousy Instagrams, you don't have to have yourself walking with black people, says the male voice. In the extended 15-minute version, Sterling's girlfriend exchanges his statements, comparing them to Nazis' views of Jews. V, it's like saying...
No, you can't do that. You can't do that. See, they can have whatever racist view that they want to. And if you say too much, then the Holocaust is going to come up. How dare she mention what you're doing is what you say you suffered? Why would you do this to somebody if this is what you suffered? Go ahead.
This is V speaking. It's like saying, let's just persecute and kill all of the Jews. Donald Sterling, oh, it's the same thing, right? V, isn't it wrong? Wasn't it wrong then with the Holocaust? And you're Jewish. You understand discrimination. BS, Donald Sterling, you're a mental case. You're
a
really
mental case for even suggesting any kind of connection to this thing and that thing. Go ahead.
you're a mental case. You're really a mental case. The Holocaust, we're comparing with V, racism, discrimination. Donald Sterling, there's no racism here. If you don't want to be walking into a basketball game with a certain person, is that racism? When asked if he realized most of his players are black, Sterling responded, I support them and give them food and clothes and cars and houses.
Do you hear this? Do you hear? I'm doing them a favor. You know, they get to read and everything on the plantation.
I was about to say, isn't that the plantation
That
mentality?
is the plantation mentality. Look how they, did you see, you saw that last slave came in with a steak, didn't you? Who you think gave that slave that steak? Me, that's who. Go ahead.
Who gives it to them? Does someone else give it to them? Do I know that I have to? Who makes the game? Do I make the game or do they make the game?
Mm-hmm.
Is there 30 owners that created the league? US President Barack Obama, the first African-American president and a keen basketball player and fan, interrupted his diplomatic initiative in Asia Sunday to condemn ignorant and incredibly offensive racist marks. I don't think I have to interpret those statements for you. They kind of speak for themselves, said the president, speaking in Malaysia. When ignorant folks want to advertise their ignorance, you don't really have to do anything. You just let them talk. You want to continue?
No, that's far enough. Now, I don't know if you have the one on the net worth. I think it's I want to look at this because what ends up happening, all right. We've already seen what happened with Kyrie. That he posted something, and with his suspension, he's lost a considerable amount of money. We've seen the amount of money that no, it's not that one. I don't know if you have that one. It says the net worth of Donald Sterling. What I want to show here, how our people have lost finance. Donald Sterling, after he made all of those comments, went from 2 billion to 4 billion. Now, I need to paint this picture because when we make statements, we must be punished financially. Yet when other people make statements, they can profit from those things and nothing happens, you know? And you know, that particular graphic that's showing there is just a Holocaust reparations, because we hear about the Holocaust all the time. What we don't hear about is that they're receiving payments for the Holocaust. We haven't received any reparations for any of the things that have happened unto us. Okay, so but that's not even something that I wanted to go into. I one of the things when you talk about the attack machine is how, unless you are at a point where you have considerable amount of power and influence, when something happens to you from certain groups of people, you will not get justice. I don't know how many of you, because you know we listen to all forms of hip hop. BG from Cash Money is supposed to just now be about to get out of prison. He served 14 years for having a gun and being a felon. For having a gun, 14 years, and he was supposed to get like 30. This is the kind of stuff that's happening to us while people are saying that they are being persecuted. Where is this persecution? This 3 strikes, and they already said, okay, there's states that still use the 3 strikes. and you're never coming home. So all they have to do is accuse us 3 times. We can't see the jury, the grand jury. The grand jury is a secret group of people who supposed to be your peers, and we know they will not be your peers, who decide who gets charged. This is why the DA was able to throw out Adam Vinit's case. The grand jury is a group of people. It's a secret redneck coalition who get to decide who's going to get charged. Our people get charged, other people do not. So you got a man doing 14 years because he had a gun and while being a felon.
Didn't use the gun.
No, didn't use the gun to do anything. He just had it. Okay, and this atmosphere is created. We have this whole thing. He feels like he has to protect himself. So having this atmosphere works against us. So now he's just now getting out of prison while other individuals are able to grope, able to molest, able to rape, steal. And not only will they not get prosecuted, but the machine says you can't even say anything about it. And I'm gonna leave that right there. Did you have something else, brother?
I got one. I don't know how many people seen this. This is from The Guardian, all right? Israel will not cooperate with FBI inquiry into killing of Palestinian American journalist.
I have seen that. Yep.
Israel has said it will not cooperate with an FBI investigation into the killing of the Palestinian American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh by the Israeli army.
Right. They will not participate in anything that does not help Israelis. And anything that may show that they had some involvement in anything. Okay. So you have teachers. I remember seeing an article about a teacher in like Arkansas who was forced to supposedly, she didn't sign it, to sign a pact that she would never boycott Israel. She's Palestinian.
Yep.
She works in Arkansas. What the hell does Israel have to do with what goes on in Arkansas with a teacher? If she didn't sign the papers, she lost her job. She's having to sue them because she says, I am Palestinian. If I decide to say anything, not only can you not say anything against Israel, you can't say anything against Israeli companies or anything like that. Why is that even a law in America? If you're going to pass a law that you can't say anything about Israel, shouldn't that be in Israel? Why is that in another country? But then when you say that people are controlling a situation, what is that if that's not control? That these people can't speak their mind. There's freedom of speech, but you can't say anything about a certain group of people. You can't even boycott their companies or you're going to have an issue.
I'm glad you brought that up because a lot of us are not aware that even though you brought her up, there is a group in Arkansas that's fighting against this whole ADL thing. Because it's not just affecting her, it's affecting businesses.
Right. Businesses who will be signing an agreement that they won't go against other businesses. What? This is commerce. How you gonna tell me I can't challenge this business? I'm trying to keep my business afloat.
Now you messing with me going to get a loan because I won't sign this pact.
Exactly. So you have, these things going on. And then when you say that somebody is all controlling, then now you're anti-Semitic trope. But if that's not controlling, I don't know what is. Matter of fact, in Netanyahu's book, he says that his father went to Europe to try to get them to set up Israel, set up a homeland for the Israelis. He said, they told him, all right, you have the right thought process, but you're doing it in the wrong place. Go to America. His father was able to convince Eisenhower that it would be in their best interest to set up a homeland. He said, if you do it, you will have a weapon in the Middle East. Now, if you can get to the president and control his thought process to help set up something, how can you tell us that you're not in control of things? When President Bush says, I was going to institute our economic package, but I couldn't, because my banker's not here. It was a Jewish holiday. So he couldn't get any money. The president of America, supposedly the leader of the free world, can't get access to money because his Jewish banker was celebrating a holy day. And he laughed, but he was also putting the information right out there. But if you say it, it's an anti-Semitic trope. He just said, I can't activate America's economic recovery because the Jewish people are not available. So I just wanted people to understand the attack machine, because there's a whole lot of people that are not privy to certain information, and this information is readily available. All of the things that we read have come from well-publicized articles, and we picked those for a reason so that people can understand that this is not any kind of situation where we're taking a negative spin. We read it word for word, what was in the documents. So if there is an issue, please make sure that you put those issues toward the individuals who wrote these articles, and make sure you get the company who published these articles, because it was not us. Go ahead, brother. Did you have something?
Yeah, you can kind of see the open hypocrisy that's happening, because people are starting to think back, like they're starting to think about the decisions that they have made, such as election, and then you see the people who stepped down, some people who stepped up. I remember Nancy Pelosi's husband got drunk driving.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, I don't think that he didn't go to jail. Say, I don't think that that's an offense. But again, then you have Biden. You look at Biden. So I think people looking at the decisions that they're making. His son,
the crack
smoking that. And then you look at how many people that's in jail, and then you look at what his daddy did. Okay, his daddy said that he was going to do something by releasing all the people who have federal charges, federal offenses against marijuana. Now, if you're really knowledgeable of what he's doing, he can't control the state's decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He went federal, but there's nobody locked. It's about a minimum, a handful of people locked up for a federal crime of marijuana. That's not what they feel.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what they're dealing with. So it's like only a few people got released on that. But if you did it on a state level, where you're releasing all these people of these non criminal offenses,
right, and
non-violent offenses,
right,
then it would have really did something for the Black community. And you think about the laws that's being passed here in America with other countries, and you have problems with them other countries.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got Asian laws that's been passed. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do nothing against Asians.
Right.
Like,
right.
It's like, okay, this is the big melting pot. You can't do nothing against none of these people, but Black people, like when we read over, I didn't hurt them.
Right.
And I didn't.
Right. I did it.
I didn't hurt him.
But he wouldn't hurt.
And it wasn't sexual.
You know what I'm saying? So they get to set the boundaries for how something is set up, and we are definitely entering into a new area. We've always looked at these things. So this is restriction on one level. This whole thing was about the sign of times and Jacob's trouble. When we've heard about the certain things about the future money restrictions. I'm telling y'all, we had to go to a funeral, and we ended up going to Louisiana. Do you know that our debit card stopped working out of Georgia?
What?
Yeah, that usually happen to me. I'm from South Carolina.
brother, and I've never had that happen before. Now, I would ask you, you know, there's certain things you guys may want to get you a business account that does not link directly to yourself. You may also want to get you a post office box account, a post office box address that may not be in your area. Because if your money gets limited to your area, if you at least have a PO box, and that's in a Caucasian area where they will have groceries, you can then go over there and get you some groceries. This card locked up the first time we got a notification saying, you know, is this you? Yes. The next time there was no notification. It's just not going through. I had to pull out another card.
This was recently?
Recently, we was talking about last week, bro.
Wow.
Is that recent for you? Was that recent enough? Last week. So we're talking about upcoming financial restriction. Brother, this just last week. This is already here. And they do it under the guise of fraud protection. Fraud protection told me that I couldn't spend my money outside of my area. You don't live here. You don't live in New Orleans. Why are you trying to spend money in New Orleans? Shut down my purchases. Okay? And some of the most simple things that we wouldn't think about. How about the Cash App card work everywhere I went? So what you would say as an established person, why would I want a Cash App card? Cash App card didn't stop when my bank card stopped. But that's all that we're gonna do for today. Thank you guys for tuning into the Brothers Fellowship. Y'all will. We'll catch you again next month or the next time we